Hey, thanks for joining me for another video in the Retro Tech series. In this video, we're going all the way back to the 1960s and the acquisition of RadioShack by the Tandy Corporation in 1963. Less than 10 years after the Deutschman brothers of Boston began selling their house brand of electronics under the Realistic name in their 9 RadioShack locations and mail-order catalog, the company was near bankruptcy and would ultimately be sold for only $300,000. Restructuring and expansion came quick after the acquisition. Tandy would aim to reduce the inventory from over 40,000 items down to only 2,500, cutting non-performers from the roster and freeing up capital and resources to develop core items that would sell better to the masses. Before the end of the decade, new products were in the catalogs. One that catches the eye is the introduction of the PRO-100 mic kit in the 1968 catalog. The little kit featured a pair of small dynamic microphones, a wooden case that housed custom mic preamplifiers, and a host of accessories. But it's the half-page ad that catches your eye, as it makes bold claims of how their engineers spent 2 years solving this problem of how the weakest link in today's audio equipment is the microphone, and how they've done so for the rock-bottom price of only $100. They don't actually say anything about how they've done it, but they do mention that it's been done for far less than you'd expect, although the microphones here are displayed alongside other similar microphones that were on sale for anywhere from 5 to almost 10 times less than this PRO-100 kit. So they've certainly got me curious. It doesn't sound too outlandish now, but $100 was a lot of money in 1968. A RadioShack highball dynamic mic at the time ran only $15, and it sure didn't come in a wooden case. They were really pushing these as serious microphones, and to put it into perspective, that $100 in 1968 had the same buying power as roughly $700 in 2018. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like anyone was beating down their doors to buy the PRO-100 kit, and after appearing prominently in those half-page listings in the 1968 and 69 catalogs, it would not be seen again. The 1970 catalog made no mention of the kit and offered no further solution to this whole weakest link situation. No doubt a team was working long hours to determine why the $100 PRO-100 kit flopped, but while that conjures up images of engineers and technicians working to find a fault in the audio performance or the quality of the kit, the solution seems to have come straight out of the accountant's department. It's hard to know for sure, but I'd bet with the relative fanfare put behind the PRO-100 kit, it would be safe to assume some real money had been sunk into design, tooling, and manufacturing the thing. So when it flopped, they had to roll with it quickly and figure out a way to use what they already had. So the PRO-100 hit the chopping block, and what emerged in 1971 was a lean, mass-market ready plastic facsimile that could be yours for the far less aggressive price of only $29.95. So the PRO-100 was on sale, was offered in the catalog anyway from 1968 and 69 for $100. No kit was offered in the 1970 catalog, so the PRO-100 was introduced in 1971 for $29.95, and it would stay at that price in the 71, 72, and 73 catalog. 1974 they raised the price to $34.95, and in 1975 they raised it again to $39.95, and it would stay at that price in 1976, and then after 1976 it doesn't appear again in the catalog. I'd assume they continue to sell these in the retail stores, but it no longer makes an appearance in the general catalog. So some of the main features that they advertised about this microphone was that it was compatible with almost any equipment. You have a switch that can change between 250 ohms, which is what I'm using now, and 10,000 ohms. So you could plug it into various different consumer and more professional grade things like reel-to-reel decks. I've got one here, which would be typical of the type of deck you might use in the 70s with a microphone like this, and it's got left and right unbalanced microphone inputs, and you could make a nice recording. You could do an interview with something like this, and obviously there were cassette decks, smaller reel-to-reels, but a lot of equipment back then came with those types of mic inputs. The microphones come with a nice windscreen that seems to do a pretty good job. I'm really right up on it now. This definitely seems to do a pretty good job. The cables are all molded end. Everything here seems to be made in Japan. Opening the microphone up, you can see it's fairly simple. There's just a simple element. You can see it in there, and it looks like somebody with the name Foster may have done the quality control on that one. That's wired down, and there's a schematic here in the little instruction manual, and that's wired down to the 2 different resistor networks, one for the 10K position, one for the 250 position, and that's selected by the simple switch, and that's pretty much all there is to these microphones. There's not a whole lot going on in there. Certainly not much in the way of shielding. The desktop stands don't really work when the cable is new. Maybe they get better over time, but it's hard to get them to sit flat. The mic stand clip is fine, works perfectly. The only issue I have with these is the spacing is so tight that you tend to hit the switch when you move the microphone around. So it's not really convenient for putting it in and out repeatedly. So one of the biggest features, it seems, that these had the lavalier attachments, and it's just like a lanyard with a little clip. And I don't know if anybody ever used these, but we'll give it a try here and see what it sounds like kind of positioned in a normal, where it would normally hang. So let's give that a shot real quick. And it's adjustable with this little drawstring. Let me move this out of the way. Maybe you can, I don't know if you can even see that, but you'll be able to see it once the mic's on. So let's take a look. So it's not the best pickup pattern. I'm going to bring the gain up even a little bit more. So that's it as a lavalier. I mean, it looks absolutely hilarious, and the handling noise is just like, I mean, it's pretty awful if you put this on anybody that was moving around, even somebody wanting to record like a speech or something. If you were giving a lecture to a class, this is it's just not the best. Like now you can hear, yep. Hey, that is real, and it goes. The cable's not too bad now. It's very, very much picking up cable rustling close to the microphone. But yeah, it's absurd, and it doesn't really pick up a great amount of me talking, even this close. If I lean down, you get a much better idea of what the mic sounds like. But yeah, this is one of the big features is this lavalier style. So I don't know if anybody ever used this. If you were old enough to remember these when they were new, I'd love to know if you remember anybody ever doing this. Anybody that had a teacher, maybe college lecture that did something like this. I'd love to know. And man, if you had pictures, that'd be great. So that is the realistic PRO-100 mic kit. Now, I'm sure I'll get comments from folks asking for more examples of what this mic sounds like, and you always get the comments of people asking if it would be good for like recording drums or things like that in the studio. And my answer to that is always that microphone experimentation with cheap microphones is it's always possible. I don't know what kind of sounds you're going to want to get, and other than this one having a little bit of noise to it because of the lack of shielding, in a proper studio, this could be an interesting microphone. You could definitely get some trashy kind of sounds out of it. You could get some interesting stuff, I'm sure. Buying $20, I think I paid $20 for this entire kit on eBay, and is it worth it to mess around with? Absolutely. If you're the type of person that wants to experiment with microphones and get some different sounds and try to be creative with old or cheaper microphones, this is a cool kit. It's a stereo kit. It comes with mic clips. Yeah, why not? Like, totally, I'd give it a shot. Is it going to be something that you're going to use regularly? Depends on what you're doing. This is nothing to write home about, though. I wouldn't tell you to run out and buy these because of any particular reason, honestly. Microphone kits like this, they're fun, they're a laugh, they're very, very easy to find. You can find all sorts of microphones under $30 for single mics and kits in this kind of age range, and I always like to see what they are. I picked these up to go along with that reel-to-reel recorder when we get that up and running for its final video. I thought it'd be neat to have a set of age-appropriate microphones to test with those inputs, so we'll do more with these microphones in the future. That's pretty much all I bought them for, and I thought they'd make an interesting video here just to take a look at the history and the history behind RadioShack and Tandy and all of that. Most people I know, my age at least, had a RadioShack highball microphone. A lot of times RadioShack was the first place we went and saw electronics and parts and things like that for sale, and you bought your first soldering iron maybe there and things like that. So I think it's neat to look at the history, and that's all for this time. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks to everybody who supports the channel either directly or by sharing these videos with your community. It really does help a ton. Check the description below for links to my website and more information about this microphone and all the other stuff I'm working on. See you next time.